that in there. Hello everybody, I'm sitting in exactly the same place as I was sat in yesterday, so it's possibly going to be difficult for you to see that this is a separate social distance social club. However, it is a separate social distance social club. I've got my cup of coffee. I've connected my computer to the Zoom link that's on the description on this post that you're looking at. So hopefully, if you've got any questions that I can help with, or questions that my audience can help with, then bob onto the Zoom if you feel like doing that. Join in. Look, what else are we going to do? We've got to fill up our time in lockdown. Basically, we've got to fill up our lockdown time talking to each other and making use of the internet. If this virus had happened 20 years ago, we'd be phoning each other, I suppose, but we certainly wouldn't have the advantages that we have now. So, hello everybody, how are you? I hope everything's groovy for you on this beautiful day. And here we are at the Social Distance Social Club. So everybody who's interested in how Popple Guy's doing, Popple Guy is my blue and gold macaw who had a strange attack a week ago where he suddenly couldn't breathe, and if you know anything about parrots, they hide it really well until the moment they die. Because they're a prey bird, they don't want the predators to see that they're poorly, so they can be poorly for quite a long time until they're ready to die, and that's the worry. Cheers. So by the time you see that your macaw is poorly, it's too late. And indeed, we do suspect that he'd been weak for weeks, even months. There we are. But anyway, he went into an oxygen tent, he went into a nebulizer, he spent 2 days into an oxygen tent, then he came home, then he had another attack, then he went back again, went into an oxygen tent and a nebulizer, got stable so that he then could travel to Swindon to go to the best bird vet in the country, Western Exotics, or certainly the best one in the south. There we are. So he went there for 2 nights, again oxygen, nebulizer, got knocked out again. So he got knocked out the first time to see if he'd swallowed anything. Then they found that he hadn't swallowed anything, but they wanted to do some blood tests and such like. Then the second vets knocked him out again so that they could do a tracheotomy, see what's wrong, and so he was in another oxygen tent then he came back 2 nights ago, had a good day yesterday, but he's walking around like an old man. He really isn't with it. Having a bit of a problem getting the medicine down, so he's got this medicine and it's not an awful lot, but I'm mixing it in sweet potato mash, and I'm mixing it in fruit smoothies, and I'm mixing it in orange juice. It's very, very difficult because he's just not feeling hungry. So if he's not hungry, then I've lost the plot a bit. Anyway, I've managed to get it in, but it's a struggle. He's got to stay on this for 4 weeks, I think. So undoubtedly, watch this space. We'll come up to a solution. I'm putting his progress, and in fact I'm even going to put the medicine trials on his page, Popple Guy the blue and gold macaw, so you can all see me struggle away getting this macaw. He came out for his first flight today, and he was pleased to be out and about. He was out for about an hour flying around, only short distances, so you can tell that he's not himself. And then he went in and he's just in the cage now, just having a little doze. So that's the story there. Hello everybody, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's see who's here. We've got Ali and Cheryl and... oh, that's the only commenters, but there's 34 of you, so if you're not commenting, put a little like and a thumbs up and a little heart for Popple Guy, because I'll show him that in a bit and he can eat my phone. So everybody who's joined, I've got the Zoom going. If you would like to join on the Zoom, ask a question there, that would be marvellous. A Q&A at the Social Distance Social Club. As yesterday, I'll start off on a question that I got yesterday, but feel free to interrupt, get on the Zoom, or if you don't want to get on the Zoom, feel free to ask a question in the comments. But the comments are quite little on the corner of my phone there, so it can. Oh, hi Tessa, hi Nikki. So there we go. Try scrambled eggs, Tessa. Yes, that's a very good idea. That's a very good idea. I shall try that tonight. I shall record it on my little camera, and I'll pop that on the Popple Guy, the Blue and Gold Macaw page. That is an excellent idea. Tessa, how did you know that? Now that you've said it, I'm remembering back to a year or more ago when we had another little bird that needed some medicine, and we put it in scrambled eggs then. I'd forgotten that. How do you know that, Tessa? Very interesting. Kelly, hello. Hello. Oh, David, how are you? Pleased to see you again. Mary. Super. Okay then. So the question that got asked yesterday is, how can a nervous rider get back on the horse and get riding again? Tessa says her African, which I assume is an African grey, loved it, and your green Amazon. There we are. So you probably know more than me. I've only had Popple Guy for a couple of years. So how can a nervous horse rider get over their nerves and get back on, was the question. And I do forget that not everybody knows that I've written a book all about this, and I've run a rider confidence course all about this for the last decade, and we've had 3,000 people through. I've had 10 or 20 conversations through the day with each of those 3,000 people. You do the math. It's many people, millions and millions of conversations. Actually, it's not. It's about a third of a million conversations. But a third of a million conversations is quite a back history for me to be able to rely on. And I would have to be blind, deaf and stupid to not realise through that third of a million conversations certain trends going through the leisure riding populace, which results in them coming up to the rider confidence course and having lost their confidence. Does that make sense? I can see over and over again the same basic steps that people are doing in the wrong direction and not doing in the right direction. And there we are. So I forget that people have got onto this Facebook page, and bless you, if you're on any Facebook group or any forum and you recommend people to come onto my page, thank you very much. The page is doing absolutely fantastically. I'm getting loads of likes and interest, and people don't realise always that I've written a book and I've done these rider confidence courses. I have got this back history of a third of a million conversations over 10 years. I've also done training videos and hypnosis. I'm a hypnotherapist. Some people don't know that either. So it's super interesting. This question comes in, how can I start to stop being nervous when I get on a horse? And my first question is, have you read my book? At the risk of sounding like a salesman, but there you are. Nonetheless, that's what I wrote the book for. Usually the answer's no, and really it's a bit of a cheat answer for me, isn't it? There we are. So I'm going to try and answer, and the answer is, if you're feeling nervous and you want to start getting back on your horse and back having a nice time again, then the key is, there's two keys. Bite sizes for yourself, making sure that your fight and flight center in your brain, the primitive part of your brain, the brain that responds with panic, and the part where anxiety lives. And anxiety is a choice to interpret the sensations of adrenaline as fear rather than excitement. You can have exactly the same feelings and interpret them different ways. That's where you do have a choice, so that's nice to know. But where all these negative, the primitive brain is a negative brain, it's watching out for dangers for you with some responses such as fight and flight, and it is a primitive is the obvious word. It is a brain that has the processing power of a 7-year-old. So if you're attempting to get over your nerves, whatever bite sizes you need to put in, you need to imagine that you're talking to your 7-year-old self, whether you're 7, 17, 77 or 107. We've all got this 7-year-old. So if you're thinking, right, I really ought to just jump on this horse and go galloping off, and you know that that's too big a step for you, it's exactly the same as if you got hold of a 7-year-old child and plonked them on a horse and galloped off with them and expected them to cope. They just wouldn't. People throw them, that people eventually get so frustrated with themselves and sick of being frightened that they jump on the horse and they throw themselves at a jump, and they might get over the jump, but they haven't addressed that 7-year-old. They've just scared it to death and then they think, oh, I've got to pull on my brave pants. Can't stand brave pants. There's no such thing as brave pants. Anyway, they think, I've got to pull on my brave pants and just jump over this jump, and next time they pull on your brave pants and jump over this jump, and then they turn around and say, I'm jumping this height jump and I'm still frightened. And that's why you've just been pulling on your brave pants. So you've been brave, but you haven't been trained. You need to train your 7-year-old at the size of step that the 7-year-old needs to take to be confident at that level. And when it comes to jumps, it may even be that your 7-year-old has to lay the jump pole on the ground and walk over it. That's good enough. Set out a course, treat it seriously. When you walk over the jump, turn your head and look at the next jump, make sure you've got your path round, and then if you want to just have a little bit of excitement at the end, you can just raise one pole up to ankle height and just hop over that, and in your imagination that can be your big Oxer spread at Olympia, and that's where you can put on your brave pants. It's fun then, it's just a little bit. What you don't do is just keep throwing yourself at meter high jumps and scaring yourself silly, whether or not you get over them. So your bite sizes need to be arranged at the level that the 7-year-old you can cope with. Oh, hello! We've got someone. Oh, yes. I was talking to the phone up there. Right, let's see if we've got any sound. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
I can hear you as well. Oh, marvellous. Let me just see. Right then, have you got a question? With that, have you got a question for the Social Distance Social Club?
My question is, I have tried to download your booking, bolting and rearing, because bolting is my fear and I haven't been successful in receiving anything. So what do I do about a bolting horse?
Oh, marvellous. Okay. So, first of all, I noticed that you're on an iPhone, and most of the people that have problems with the downloading, it's a security setting on the iPhone that is a firewall or something. People have problems in at work. There can be firewalls as well. If you can get hold of a PC and download it onto there and then transfer it, it'll probably work. But yes, good question. Bolting horses comes up a lot. So we've got two elements to that. Right, I'm ignoring this phone now. Hang on, I haven't thought this through. I haven't thought this through at all. Now look, I'm looking now. Then. So the question is, bolting horses. What do we do about those? Hang on, got to adjust the height of this camera now. I've gone all wrong, Joanne.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah. Okay, we're nearly there. What do we do about bolting horses? So we've got two elements here. Why is the horse bolting in the first place? And if you do find yourself on the bolting horse, what are you going to do about it? So why is the horse bolting is an issue of when the horse sees something scary, it takes control. It decides that it's time to take control. So there needs to be a way of persuading the horse that when something scary comes up, it needs to speak to you and say, what do we do? Does that make sense? So quite a lot of the time with our horses, we spend in the arena desensitizing them to absolutely anything you can think of, in the bite sizes that they need. And I use a great example of a garden sprinkler, because a garden sprinkler can easily make a horse spooky. So if I want to make that bite size smaller, I can put it 25 yards away and the horse will nearly not see it. So if I need to desensitize a horse to a spook, I make the bite size that I want, and then when the garden sprinkler is turned on and I get my friend to turn it on, let's say that I've arranged the horse to be doing a figure eight or a circle, I know the sprinkler is coming on, and so with a laser focus to tell the horse to ignore the garden sprinkler, the horsey language for ignore the garden sprinkler is do your figure eight perfectly. Even more, I'm absolutely laser focused. I haven't even noticed that the sprinkler's gone on. If the bite size is correct, the horse will put an ear towards the sprinkler and I'll be like, figure eight, 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 figure eight. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
What people tend to do when the horse has a little spook at something, so you're going out and someone's washing the car as an equivalent of a garden sprinkler, the first thing they do when the horse stops is pat the horse as if to say well done, and then say ignore the sprinkler or ignore the man washing the car. It's impossible to ignore the man washing the car if you're going to say the man washing the car. It's like me saying don't think of a pink and blue frog. Immediately you're thinking of a pink and blue frog. If I say your pink and blue frog, do not let it have a straw bow to hat, a straw sticking out of its mouth and playing a piano. You can't help it. So instead of ignore the garden sprinkler, which is what people want to say, you have to think of what you do want, and what we do want was what we were doing, the figure eight. In your figure eight, do your figure eight, do your figure eight, make it absolutely perfect. Be on the bit, have your back legs underneath you, carrying you with all that grace and correctness. Absolutely. Later on, of course, the garden sprinkler can come closer and closer, and then eventually we can put it in the arena. Maybe this will take 3 months. We put it in the arena, we get our wet weather gear on, and we're doing figure eights and serpentines and circles through the sprinkler of death, and everyone's leaning on the fence going, oh, I wish I had a horse like yours. Well, they have. There you go. The point is, you've put in the effort. So it's not just a garden sprinkler. Another time we may be going over a tarp or under a tarp, or we may be carrying a flag, or we may be taking a stick and tapping it on the fence, or we may get somebody to just play a little bit of football or a game of swing ball, and it's just do the thing you want, focus on what 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 you want. So by the time the horse has had little spooks to the sprinkler of death, the swing ball of death, the tarp of death, the flag of death, all these things that are going to kill it, and every time when it's gone, what do we do? The rider's gone, do as I say, and lo and behold, we're saved. The template in the horse's primitive mind that previously would have been spin and rear and run away and we're saved then gets exchanged for the experience of do what Joanna says and we're saved. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So
Thank you.
by the time we go out in the big wide world and a bicycle comes flying past, your horse doesn't know if this is desensitization number 362 and that's your brother Nigel who you've given a fiver to, or whether it's actually a bicycle. And so on when it comes to cars and meeting tractors. And so when the horse decides, oh my God, the bird scarer's gone off, the first thing it will do is, what do we do? And what we do is carry on going to that tree in a nice consistent trot, and I will save the day again as I have before. Does that make sense?
Yes, great, thank you. And I'm looking forward to the Rider Confidence course, which has to be next year now, Carl. So.
Of course, yes. Oh, and one more thing, of course, if you do find yourself on a bolting horse, be used to galloping. That doesn't want to be your first experience of galloping. Otherwise you're just going to be frightened, you're going to pull on the reins, the horse is going to put its head up and pull back again. So get some experience, make that one of your goals for this year. I'm going to take my horse to the gallops and we're going to go flying up the gallops with no contact on the reins, just so that when I find myself on the bolting horse I can deal with the bolt by keeping my hands low and squeeze and relax, rather than be terrified because it's my first and only experience of galloping. Does that make sense?
Great. Yes,
Lovely. I tell you what, thank you very much for coming onto the platform. Was it fun?
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
It's good, isn't it? Lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, do it again. See? Right, I'm going to turn my attention back to the phone. Don't mean to be rude.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you, Joanna. That was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely marvellous. Oh, Cheryl's on. Cheryl, are you still there? I wandered off and got a cup of tea because I was waffling. This is great fun.
That was me, Carl.
Oh, are you also Cheryl?
Well, you kept calling me Joanna, but it was Cheryl.
Oh, Joanna, are you there? Sorry, Cheryl. I kept calling you Joanna.
That's all right. I'm going to leave soon now and go back on Facebook.
Lovely. See you in a bit. Joanna, are you there? If you slide your cursor around, there'll be a little microphone appears in the bottom left-hand corner, and you can just give that a push, and it should come through to the speaky thing. Should engage your audio. Oh, we've got Elizabeth popped up as well. First one to manage to get the Zoom to work gets to ask a question. Can't get fairer than that. Tell you what, while you're doing that, I'll just adjust this telephone so that we get a bit more of a sensible perspective. Got my little telephone. Oh. There we are. Is anybody getting their Zoom to work? Is anybody in there? Cheryl, I'm ever so sorry that I kept calling you Joanna. Okay, so I'm going to just wait for this to pop up and I'll get back to what I was saying earlier. So what we were talking about earlier, if you've only just joined us, we were talking about how do you get over your nerves to get back onto a horse. First answer was get my book, Control Your Stress and Enjoy Your Horse. It's on Amazon, it's also on carlgreenwood.co.uk. The second thing is bear in mind when you're doing the bite sizes that your fight and flight syndrome, your fight and flight area of your brain has the processing power of a 7-year-old. So if it's necessary for you to tack up your horse, take it out to the mounting block, climb up the mounting block, put your foot in the stirrup, swing your leg over, sit there for 5 seconds, swing your leg over, and that's it, then that's necessary. You have no choice. Once you've gone past into the land of fear, then you're just pulling on your brave pants but not learning anything. We've got a little slogan here that we are not brave, we're trained. And if you've come to the Rider Confidence course, then you will be aware of how stupidly tiny our bite size are to do these amazing shows that we do. Standing on, making pyramids on horses and jumping over fire. And all. For us and the horses, it's all bite sizes, tiny, tiny, tiny. Because we're used to training horses, and a little secret between you and I, training a horse to jump over fire, it all seems dangerous and cruel and everything else. But if you think of a jump and you put 2 tea lights on each end of a jump, the horse isn't going to be bothered, are you? And that's literally how we start, using the horse's ability to get used to the tiny little things. And once you take that as far as you want to, we've done the most amazing things. We've had the horses in arenas with motorbikes going up ramps and jumping, and the guys got off the motorbike and turned around and got back on again and landed the motorbike, and all these flamethrowers went off, and the loud music and the disco lights and the smoke on the floor. It's all the same, tiny, tiny, tiny bite sizes. And then before you know it, people are sitting there on the fence looking at you and your horse going, oh, I wish I had a horse like that. And you have. Okay, we've got Annabello. Is anyone going to join us on the Zoom and ask a question? I've got Annabella Gaspari waiting, hopefully to ask a question. Elizabeth Mayo and Joanna's iPhone. I'm hoping someone will ask a question, but there you go. So, step 1, if you want to get over being nervous on a horse, you've got to make your bite sizes tiny, tiny, tiny and stick to your guns. The time when you're going to make your bite sizes and make your lesson plans needs to be when everything's calm and you've got no anxiety. So what a lot of people do is they get the horse tacked up, get on the horse, and then think, what are we going to do? Well, your anxiety is already up then, and when your anxiety is up, the sensible decisions tend to be a bit suppressed. We've all had this when we have a blind panic. When you have a blind panic and your anxiety is through the roof and you're really angry or you're really upset, do you make good or bad decisions? You make terrible decisions, don't you? It's like, you're really angry, and then I said that to him and it got even worse. That just shows that when you're anxious, your intellectual abilities are suppressed. So if you're going to get on the horse and then decide what you're going to do, you probably won't make the sensible decisions of going from where you are now to where you want to be, like over there, in the little bite sizes that you need to do. I hope that makes sense. So you need your goal, what you want to do, and you need where you are now, and then you decide your bite sizes over the time that you've got, 6 months or whatever, and break that down, stick to it consistently, and take each little bite size planned as a lesson plan the night before when everything's calm and there's no panic at all. You're fully in your intellectual brain going, I did that today, I can make this progress tomorrow. I have decided that I am going to do half a circle of canter. So I'm going to transition in, which is a skill in itself. I'm going to stay in the canter for half a circle, which is a skill in itself, and then the transition out, which is a skill in itself, and I'm going to do that every day and you know yourself best, and you know if it's going to take you a week of doing that or a month of doing that to get used to it. I'm going to do it every day for a month. If we're at, what are we in now? We're in April. Every day of April I'm going to do that because I know my personality, I will be used to it by then, and we will then look at doing the second half of the circle. So there you are, you've got your lesson plans, you've got it absolutely sorted out. Your bite sizes are the size that a 7-year-old can deal with. And that's how you progress. However, you also need to be sufficiently secure in yourself that you can do these little bite sizes without having to suffer other people's opinions, or rather your fear of other people's opinions. If you want to be secure about other people's opinions, or people turn up and they go, oh, I wish I wasn't so insecure. I wish I wasn't so insecure about what other people think, and whether they think I'm riding like a sack of spuds, or whether they think, oh, they're wasting their time, look at them, all the gear and no idea. And all that, if you want to not be insecure, you can't think of what you don't want. As I was saying to Cheryl earlier, you've got to think of what you do want. So if you don't want to be insecure, what do you want? You want to be secure. So when everybody else is leaning on the fence and maybe they're looking at you and maybe they're not, then if you want to be secure, it is simply a matter of training yourself to be acting like somebody who's secure. If somebody gives you an insult, let's say, or a comment that's perceived as an insult, and you're the kind of person that's going to play on your mind now, a secure person wouldn't take that to heart. At the very most, they'd go, that's interesting. That's interesting that they reacted that way. And from saying that's interesting, you can then have the compassion to say, I wonder why they did that. I wonder why they're getting offended. And then you can start to be the bigger person thinking, well, they might be having a bad time at home. They might be feeling that their status is coming down because they're seeing me getting better. But it takes the emotion out of it. You simply choose to act like a secure person and you'll be secure. And if I have to get on a horse and walk it over some jumps, I'm completely secure in that. Completely secure in that. Because it's what's necessary at the time. I had somebody come to the Rider Confidence course and they said that they'd got this spooky horse and it was all they could do to stop it bolting off all the time and to calm it down and walk it around the arena, and they felt like such an idiot because all they can do with this horse is just walk it around, trying to get it calmed down, and it might take a year of walking it around. I don't know the back history of that horse, but I found it fascinating because at the same time I had a spooky horse that we'd got from Spain. It had turned up and the first thing it had done was bolted round and round and round the arena, and I was doing exactly the same with mine. And I listened to this Rider Confidence person tell me how she was feeling so stupid and she wasn't getting anywhere with this horse, and everybody was thinking this about her and everybody was thinking that about her, and she was starting to think that she didn't want to take the horse out to the arena because of what everybody was thinking. And I was doing exactly the same thing, knowing that this was what this horse needed. And I felt like such a horseman because I could read this horse and it's what it needed. She was doing the same thing, being the same horse person, because that she felt awful and I felt super. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, I've got another question coming up, I hope. Let me just bob. We've got Joanna here. Let me just bob a bit of microphone on there. Oh no, we've got Rebecca Callahan. Oh, hello, Rebecca. Hello, how are you? Wow. Wow, look at that. You're out in the sunshine, same as me. Oh, give us a little view of your place. Give us a little view. Lovely. Where are you? Somerset, I'm guessing. Lovely.
Essex. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh God, sorry. Yeah, we're in Essex.
Wow. Well, that just, it makes it absolutely joyful. This is brilliant. Here we are on lockdown. I'm in my beautiful tree-lined arena. You're in your beautiful tree-lined arena. It's amazing. Okay then. Do you have a question for me?
No, I'm actually just soaking it all up. It's wonderful.
Just joining in the social club. Super. What are you doing today then, Rebecca? Do you like being called Rebecca or Becky or Bex or?
I don't mind. Becky's better though, but I don't mind. The vet, because we think one of them's got possibly fly strike on his bits. We're hoping it's that, not colic.
It's not Frisian, is it?
But it's not a what? Sorry.
A Frisian.
No, a thoroughbred.
Okay.
Racer. So we've not had him very long, so he's had all sorts of issues, and it's just like, oh, another thing. But hopefully it's not. It's just the fly thing. That's what we're hoping.
So was it easy getting onto the Zoom and making that work?
Yes, because I've used it before, but only because I've used it before I knew what to do. I thought you were live on Facebook to start with.
I am live on Facebook. Everybody on Facebook, give Rebecca a little thumbs up, wavy hello hearts. Not that you'll be able to see it, but I am. I've got my Facebook on the phone here. There we are.
Oh, you're...
And there's you.
Oh, excellent. Oh,
so there we are. If anyone's got a question, hop on, join me and Joanna on the Zoom, ask your question, or put it in the comments. Excuse me, Joanna, while I look up and ignore you a bit. I'm going to look at the comments. People tend to transfer their own insecurity. People tend to transfer their own insecurities and try to mirror them onto others to make themselves feel better. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the worst people for doing that, unfortunately, are the people that you're closest to. It's because they feel that free to spread that insecurity to you. Which, by the way, Vicky Hyde, thank you for your comment, brings me to the last bit that I was just saying about being insecure, feeling insecure, and wanting to get over your nerves to get back on your horse. Maybe it's been a bit of a while since you've been on your horse. Maybe you had a good horse and your horse has reached a ripe old age and now it's retired or died, and so you've got yourself a nice 4-year-old, having ignored the fact for the last 25 years you've been not riding a 4-year-old, you've been riding a 5, 6, 7, 8, ever improving, 17, 18, ever improving, 21, 22, and it can have been decades since you last struggled with a 4-year-old. And here we are, decades on, and you get your 4-year-old having forgotten that people get skill fade when the decades slide past. Look, I'm still convinced that I can play the bass, and I sold my bass in 1991, so you do get skill fade, but I'm still utterly convinced that I can do it. So with that, when you get onto your 4-year-old, you may just have to take a step back yourself and drop down to starting with the very simple exercises and starting with the long reining and the lunging and the very simple steps that you begin with yourself all those years ago when you were first taking on a 4-year-old and learning the ropes there. So we've got all that going on. Allow yourself a skill fade, give yourself the bite sizes that you need, allow for the fact that you've got a 7-year-old in choosing your bite sizes, and write your lesson plans when there's no anxiety in the room, such as the evening before. And lastly, be aware of, as Vicky just said, the people around you projecting their own insecurities. It's a major part of my theme that if you're feeling insecure on your horse, being surrounded by people saying be careful every time you go out isn't going to help. If you want people to feel insecure on their horses, the best thing you can do when they go out is go, be careful, Or if you really wanted to feel insecure, the best thing you can do is go, don't die. If you want people to feel secure and confident on their horses, then the best thing you can do when they go out is go, have fun. Such a difference. Such a difference. Okay, are there any more comments coming in? Oh, Annabella, you can't get the Zoom right. Why won't the Zoom name? Is something happening there that's not letting you in? Rebecca, was there something you had to do in order to get onto this Zoom? You didn't have to put in a meet. Hey?
Oh yeah, you have to put the meeting number in.
I haven't given the meeting number.
And then press the video.
Oh, you mean the little bit of code that?
Yes, yeah, it's got a number in there, 977 something. Someone put it in the comments and I copied it.
Oh.
And then, do you want the number?
I didn't know that you had to do that.
Oh, I don't know why. I've always had to, but maybe I'm not very technical, so.
Oh well, no, I could do with knowing this. Look, someone's put something on the chat. Let's see what's going on there.
Yeah, it was on yesterday.
There is a short delay between Zoom. Oh, that's Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Carl.
So, have you had to put in a meeting ID number to get onto this? To get onto this Zoom, or did you just press the link?
I just pressed the link, but someone asked about getting on Zoom, and I copied the link and pasted it in the comments.
Okay. Oh, right, okay, so it's still only having the link. So, Annabella, what happens when you try to join the meeting? I've got a Zoom.
She's saying that she's got no sound, Carl.
No sound? What, no sound from me, or no sound that you can't talk?
Let me ask her.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, I can see you all, but have no sound, so I don't think she can hear on Zoom.
Maybe you're muted, or you have
She
to.
can't talk, she says.
If you move your cursor, a bunch of little symbols pop up, and the one in the left-hand corner says mute, and there's a picture of a little standing microphone. Maybe it's that. Oh, hello. Sarah has joined.
Hello.
Hello. Did you join
Can you
that?
see me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Oh, where are you with all your rosettes?
Oh, in my study.
Very good, very impressive. So, how was it easy to just join this now?
Yeah, I had to accept a couple of things, a video and an audio agreement.
Oh, right, yes. Allow your computer to use audio. Allow your computer to use video. That message.
Oh, hello. We've got another person on the screen now. That's confusing me.
Well, we've got Rebecca, who's been here for a while.
Okay.
So, Sarah, have you got a question?
Yes, I've got a young horse,
Yeah.
and he's a little bit agoraphobic, I would say. He finds it difficult to go into big open spaces, so big competition centres with lots of arenas, or out hacking where he's not just in his own little arena or his own little farm and he has to leave his comfort zone. He kind of freezes and gets himself in a bit of a knot.
Usually, when we've been a rider confidence coach, I'm dealing with the same situation, but it's with the people. But I believe that it's the same processes going on in our primitive minds. And one of the greatest tools that has worked over the years is going to competition places with no intention to compete. So that pressure to get it into the barn isn't there. And you can even go as far as doing the warm-up and everything, but your urgency that we simply have to do this just becomes a training session. So it's a
do
question.
that. I take him
It's a
to
question,
clinics
really.
at places where he's frightened, so that he has to just have a lesson rather than a competition. And it definitely helps. By the time he's done the lesson, he's calm. But I just find that if you get him there then on a show day, and maybe as you say, go on a show day but don't compete on a show day, just go and warm up, or go HC or something like that is the thing to do. It's this weird freezing that I've never had a horse that does this before. He just kind of goes rigid, basically it's fight or flight mode, and just goes, oh no, I can't cope. And the way I have to let him cope is to stand there and let him do a risk assessment until we both agree that it's okay to walk. And then after 10-15 minutes, we're okay. But obviously, hacking, that can be a repetitive thing.
How old is he?
He's going to be 7 this year. I've had him since he was 4, so he was just broken when I got him.
And is it exactly the same when he's out? Are you talking about you going through the woods and then you come to an open space and it's that feeling of
Yes.
entering somewhere?
No, it's literally the further we get from his comfort zone. So if he's out hacking and he's kind of like, he's now got to the point where the top of the track is fine. Then you get to the point where that one field is fine. But it's just a sort of, oh my God, I'm getting further and further from home, or further and further from where I feel safe. Take him to an indoor school anywhere and he is as happy as Larry. He's got 4 contained walls, Christmas trees, he doesn't care. It's, that's a contained space, that's fine. Being on a lorry for 7 hours, he wouldn't give a damn. This is lovely and contained. It's that thing of the bigger the space gets, I think it's like he can't risk assess that size of space.
And at what point does he accept that the field's actually all right? Once you have got him in?
Generally, I will do a thing where I'll let him stop. As the second he relaxes, I'll reward him. Then I'll ask him to walk on again. If he's walking consistently and relaxed, so he's clicker trained, so he basically gets rewarded for clicker training, and that all works. But it's just that I just never had a horse that has that kind of anxiety level, I guess, before. They've always been fairly consistent about, okay, something might freak them out, so pigs or something, but this thing of it just being a constant worry for him, I would love to find out why.
Yeah, there's all sorts of reasons why. Are you sure it's not become a thing that I do? Do you see what I mean? Rather than a fear, it's like this is how you go into a space. What you do, like that scene from Nemo when this is how you go out of the sea anemone. You go out, you come in. You go out, you come in, and it becomes a learned thing. Is that possibly happening?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. I think because when I first got him, his thing was to rush. I have taught him to stop and think, because the last thing I wanted was him to spin and piss off.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, no, we stop and think. So now the stopping and thinking is the thing, which I much prefer to the turning around and pissing off thing.
Wow.
But it would be nice to just walk, and not to be a stopping and not to be a pissing off, but just to walk.
That's right. So it's not something that's permanent then. This is a thing in progress that you've actually conquered a more dangerous habit and got it to this stage.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, that was the intention, was just to stop it from being a whip round, because that's just not safe.
Yeah. Well, how long have you had this horse?
2.5 years.
So if you project yourself another 2 years into the future, can you see this behaviour has changed? Can you see that
I hope so.
Can you see that you'll have
The
made?
more that we... Yeah, I think so. The more that we bond together, the more that we... more and more trusting in me. We do a lot of groundwork. We compete a lot. He goes out, aside from lockdown, he goes out most weeks. As you can tell, I'm quite a competitive person.
Yeah.
So I like to go out, and he loves that. So I would say he's getting better, but it's just, I feel a little frustrated with myself, thinking, why have we not cracked this yet? Why can't we go for a hack? You're nearly 7. Come on, boss.
There's a thing that I have when people have got horses that won't stand at the mounting block, which is sort of similar, because the training for the mounting block always starts at the beginning of the lesson, obviously, because people want to get on, and then it never happens again. And I try and persuade people to interrupt their lesson halfway through and just get that movable mounting block, and you're halfway through your lesson, and then you spend a bit of time just parking up next to the mounting block, getting on, getting off, getting on, getting off, and then carry on your lesson, and then do the same at unusual times, trying to change the horse's perception that at this particular time, in this particular way, that's when we have a fight or a training session to do this. Is there any way that you can and put them in an unusual place in the routine that you haven't normally done before?
Yeah, potentially I could. I suppose I could. It's so hard because it's not always a given thing. It might be walkers in the distance or something like that that would make him do it. So yeah, I don't know.
If you do you understand what I'm trying to say? The fight or the training session or the period when he stops is always at that initial seeing the thing, and we could have a routine where once he's calmed down, we could then go through the clicker training or some sort of pattern or figure eights or circles or something where we're constantly give an example where he sticks. I suggested coming out of the woods into the field. Is that correct?
Probably getting to the top of the field to contain a corner where the big flappy curtain sider is. That'll be where he'll stop. Yeah.
And then he'll come right again.
Yeah. Then he'll have a couple of seconds whilst we'll stand there, and I'll go drop your head because I lift the bit in his mouth to make him drop his head. Once he drops his head, he gets rewarded because he's relaxed effectively albeit by a mechanical force, and then we'll walk on, and that'll be okay for another 10 strides or maybe the rest of the ride, just depending on what else we need.
Is there an opportunity to then do some schooling in that place so that it's
a footpath and it's quite narrow. It's our own land, so I'm not trespassing, but it's a crop field next to it, so there's nothing I can do.
I'm just thinking of something to engage his head while the perception and the moment is there. Again, something unusual, so we're still in the same environment, but we've got an exercise to do, which I always describe figure eights or circles, or reversing is always good. I used to have a little pattern where I'd reverse round the four corners of a square because it really engages them. They don't know what they're doing. And it was like, we'll have this little reverse, and that was my little tool, so that when we got into a situation where they were starting to mentally not be with me, to disengage with my head, not disengage like in horsey terms, but to disengage with me, it's like, we'll just do this little pattern. And if we were doing this little pattern, that meant everything, and this little reversing pattern that we did. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I could do that, or I could do shoulder in. So a little, as you say, something I can do in a straightish line would work as a pattern, definitely.
Something very definite.
Okay, I'll try that.
Which is something that you do when everything's good. Presumably he's used to the shoulder in, he's relaxed, he knows what he's doing, it's in his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Look at all the rosettes on your wall, of course it is.
He likes his natural work, he's good at it.
There we go. But perhaps we could just try that, because I don't mind, and then report back to me.
Okay, I will do.
Super. Thank you very much. Yeah, report back. That would be marvellous. Thank you. Right.
Will do. Thanks, Carl.
I'll look forward to hearing back from you. Lovely.
Super.
Oh, lots of people joined us. Has anybody got a question, or are we just all chilling out? We've got Becca and Anne. Anne's got a question. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me.
What you got?
Hi.
What you got for us? Hello, how are you?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good. So I've got your book and your hypnotherapy tape. You know, a couple of year or so ago.
Yeah.
And I've got my confidence back. I've ridden most of my life, but had a long gap. 10-year gap. But started back again a couple of years ago. Got my confidence back. What I can't seem to get is and this is probably, it might not be the right forum, I don't know. I can't seem to get committed to go out and get a horse. It's just something I've done all my life and love doing, but I can't seem to get myself to go out and get one. It just seems really, I don't know what I'm frightened of.
Are you just not that bothered?
Lazy.
Are you not that bothered? Is it just something that you've always done, therefore you feel you should do it, but actually now we're thinking about it and talking about it, are you bothered?
Yeah, I am bothered. Yeah. I just before lockdown, about 6 months before lockdown, I started riding Western after years of normal riding, dressage and stuff, and absolutely loved it. And I'd love to have a nicely trained Western style horse and have it somewhere that I can play with. And I just don't know whether. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't got full commitment. Maybe I am bothered about riding. It is the thing that is me. But
and what about when you think of all the other stuff as well as riding? The other 95% of pushing wheelbarrows and cleaning sheaths and picking out feet.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
But
when I've had horses in the past, I found it difficult when I've had to sell them and move on, and I don't know whether it's something to do with that. I sort of sounds awful, but I don't. I don't want to have to sell horses on, and I don't want to end up with a really aged horse. Sell it on, that sort of thing. So I don't know whether it's sort of like something to do with that. Maybe I just need to find more other horses to ride, other people's.
That's where along your timeline there's a very simple phrase that, who does it come from? I think it's Les Brown. If the why is big, then the how is easy. So if the why is big, if that you want to go to Mongolia and ride the Mongolian Derby, or you want to Western riding, you Arizona and go and work with the stockmen for a summer, or you are going and you've got a passion, you've got it planned, it's going to happen, you love Western riding, it's everything that and this is driving you, then the how of whether you ride somebody else's horses or get your own horse, how of how you're going to deal with it when it gets to the end of its life, and whether you sell it or whether you keep it, and how you're going to do that. When you want something, nothing stops you. So what do you want to do with this horse? What is your passion for doing it, or what's the dream?
It's hard to explain. It's just when I have, I had a few Western lessons, and they made me. I felt brilliant. I felt wonderful after riding, and during riding, and after. And during riding, and I've ridden another horse that I've got access to, which is an old horse. This is Western Train, and when I'm riding, and I guess all you listeners feel like this. There's nothing. It's just riding. Everything else, all the other shit that goes on in your mind, isn't there.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I get.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yes. So if you've got
And it's that feeling, I suppose. Go on.
if you've got access to this horse, access to the question is, do you need your own horse? Because if you're having a nice time and getting that nice bit, why do you feel that you need your own horse?
Well, I suppose it's because this is a pretty old one.
The reason why I'm asking is because an awful lot of I do horseback archery around the world, and you can't take your own horse because it's just too expensive. So we fly around the world, we go on other people's horses, we have the most amazing time, and I thoroughly understand why most horse archers don't have their own horses, because they're getting all the thrill and excitement out of it, and they just don't have their own horses at home. And I think if I was purely on that sport thing of wanting to just do my activity, have a load of fun, whether or not I had my own horse wouldn't really enter into it. If I wanted it and I felt that I could, I don't know, get a lot further, maybe win some things and build that why, then I'd get my own horse. But I can thoroughly understand just riding them, because the riding's the best bit. The riding, if you've got horses to ride and they're nice horses and you're having a nice time, it will make you think, do I need my own horse?
Yeah, okay.
But only you can answer
Thanks
that.
for that.
If the why was big,
I know.
if the why is big, whatever your why is, why you're doing anything, if the why is big, then the how is easy. So my why, when I first started this, I wanted to have a show that taken out to county shows. I've got a show now. I've got some excellent horses. The show is absolutely brilliant. I feel so good when I get nice comments underneath the show reels. Are absolutely super comments. Look so relaxed and so nice. It gets me out in the winter, making sure that they're tuned up for the summer. You can tell from the way I've changed from a bit quicker and a little bit higher that this is a genuine light. This is great. I have no for getting another team for when my lot retire. I've done it. I'm happy. And when my lot retire, I'm going to make a nice retirement plan for them and do lots of activities for retired horses. But I'm not going to do my show. I'm going to hire other horses if I want to go. Once the horses are retired, I'm not going to get another team of horses, because I've done it. I'm satisfied. But I will continue to ride other horses in shows and competitions around the world. But no, I'm full. I'm happy. If that changes, then my why will become big again, and it'll be and nothing will stop me. If the why is big, the how is easy.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
I'll think more about the why.
Yeah. Get back to us as well. We'd love to hear.
All right.
Super. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Anne.
you.
Charlotte, are you going to join us?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous really. I think I'm at the point of buying your book, because I used to be a really confident rider and I'm not anymore, and I don't know why. My mare is 12 now and I've had her from birth, and everybody that rides her, she's ended up scaring. She doesn't scare me most of the time, but she can do. But I could never get rid of her, so I have to build my confidence up to deal with her, because it's stopping. So I've been following some of your books. I haven't read your books yet, but I've been following some of the things, and I think that's my next step, because I have to get my confidence back to deal with her before she doesn't scare me, but she does have the potential to from time to time, and I avoid doing things that scare me. She's absolutely petrified of tractors, so when we go out hacking, if we meet a tractor and I get off and lead her past them, that's fine, but if I stay on, it's not not safe. And so, yeah, I need to get her more confident and me more confident, which feels like quite a big ask at the moment.
Yeah. Interesting. The thing, we've got two choices with our horses. We can either change our horses by selling them, that one and buying another one, or change them by training, so that some people would get an outside trainer in to change their horse into a different horse. So you change a horse, or you can change yourself. So that all that dancing around, dancing around the tractor and such like, people love that nonsense. They love it. They love a difficult horse. They love the I don't. I don't. I quite like a horse that's just trained and is nice to just do the things that I want to do. But some people absolutely love it. So it's a question of putting the round peg in the round hole and the square peg in the square hole. However, if you said there's no way that I'm getting rid of this horse, then you've got two choices. Train the horse to act differently, or train yourself to react differently. And chances are the actual bit will be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I think that's where it needs to be. I need to get my confidence back, because when I'm confident, it behaves better. She picks up on my unconfidence.
Yeah.
And that's when she becomes more spooky and more silly. So I have to be more confident. So I think that's where I'm going to go with next your book. And try and improve my confidence.
Two elements. Yes, please buy my book, because it's built on 10 years of having this conversation over and over again, and it will help your confidence. But then the second part is to find the joy. Find the joy in progressing and getting your horse used to these spooky situations. Find the joy in making it a more well-mannered horse, and equally find the joy in those moments when the horse spins and you just have to say yee-haw and laugh a bit and go, oh, that was exciting. So there is a joy there, because I've had it when you're sat on a horse and it's being particularly responsive. There is a joy in there, and part of that joy is being the horse rider that is quite happy up there. But
I used to be.
Until you accept that the joy is possible, and because you know that this is possible, you know it's possible.
Yes.
Definitely. To just
it's just age that made me lose.
There's lots. It used to be possible and it's not now. If you've lost your confidence, read the book. It's got all the answers in there. You're going to recognise so many situations, and that will leave you equipped to find those joyous moments. Just like it when the horse spins and all they do is laugh and then go zooming off over there, and they go, oh, here's a cheeky, and they're clearly having the most enormous amount of fun. You can find the joy in.
I'll get the book.
You can find the joy in any situation. I've been dealing with somebody. Dealing with, that sounds harsh. I've been speaking to somebody who's got a fear of bridges. And I was saying you need to find the joy in bridges. And of course, to somebody afraid of bridges, that just sounds insane. There's no joy in a high bridge, is there? And then I was driving home from London and I went under a motorway bridge and I saw the silhouette of a father and the child. I think the child was a little girl, but I can't be sure because it was a silhouette behind the setting sun. And this child was wetting itself with excitement and joy at being on the bridge, looking over at the lorries and then running round in circles, looking over, and it's like, that is joy in a situation to somebody else which is horrific. But as soon as you realise there is a joy to be had, whereas previous to us having this conversation, there was no concept. How can a bridge be joyous? They're terrifying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can find the joy in any situation, and once you know it's possible, it's just a matter of working in little bite-sized steps to whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'll get there.
Lovely. Okay, lovely. Let's know how you keep going, how you get on. Pleasure.
Well done. Thank you.
Pardon?
Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Right. Okay. Last one. Becca, do you have a question for us?
Oh, it's more of a. I had a bad accident 3 years ago. Sold everything, never going to get back on a horse again. I'm now back riding, found a really lovely big cob we've got our confidence together. But still, and I've made my brain overpower my desire to get off when I'm so scared.
Yeah.
But even now, I'm back out competing again. But when he does something, the adrenaline just goes around my body so fast, and that feeling of wanting to get off. And I just wonder if you had any advice about how to overcome that, rather than
You sound
stopping
like
the movement if I'm mid-canter, mid-transition.
you sound like you're being
That
terribly.
adrenaline just goes through me.
You sound like you're being terribly brave. Are you a brave person?
No, I just didn't want to stop riding, so I've had to push myself through. I think I had severe post-traumatic stress, and I couldn't. It's every time I got on through, and it helps that the horse that I'm riding now is a big cob. He's older. We've kind of got fit together. But it's still really hard, and I see people at the yard, and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe you're still riding after your accident."
Ah, there you have it.
You know,
There you
I
have
want
it.
to ride.
Out of interest, have you read my book?
No, it's on my list. I've downloaded. Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. You've hit the nail on the head. When you read the book, you will see exactly why you're feeling like you are and why you can't progress. And I'd look more to the people around you than yourself. And for yourself, what would happen if you just backed off for a season? So instead of jumping this high, you were jumping this high, and just.
Oh, well, I'm not leaving 4 feet off the floor. I don't do jumping.
Well, whatever your equivalent is, instead of cantering
Hacking, go for a hack. Yeah.
approaching that bit where you're pushing yourself, because you were saying you've had to push yourself and push yourself. If you backed off so that when you're hacking, you're quite happy walking, not feeling guilty. It's like, oh, I'm going to walk because I'm too scared to trot, and aren't I awful, aren't I a rubbish rider?
Yeah.
But if you wrote in your lesson plan, I'm going to do 3 months of just walking, apart from this little bit here that I'm particularly comfortable at, to the point, boredom and fear don't live together is what I'm getting up to the point where you can just not give yourself a hard time, not get on yourself and feel guilty, or not feel like the horse rider you want to be or used to be or what the people are expecting you to be.
Yeah.
And you just get to that point where you're like, you know what, I might actually just trot a little bit more. I might actually just do my little canter transition and then back out again. Because you've naturally got there rather than pushed yourself. Would that be possible to come up with a program to
But
do
I think
that?
it's more still that I think it's trying to control my brain, the flashbacks that I have. My body has done it before I can control it.
Is it a flashback to one particular situation?
Yeah, when I fell off and broke my back, yeah.
So it's one particular thing that's constantly bothering you, and it's got very clear edges. This is the thing.
Only every now and again, though. Now it's becoming less and less as I'm becoming more confident and progressing back to more the rider I was. But it's still, it just comes and it whooshes over me before I can control it. And I don't want that to happen anymore. I want that to go away.
If there is a particular situation that bothers you, in particular this is like traumas from incidents and accidents and everything else, and you cannot get it out of your head, even though you rationally know this isn't going to happen again. I mean, bad luck happens in so many situations. You could do exactly the same injury falling down the stairs and you wouldn't carry a fear. There's been plenty of people who break their backs falling down the stairs. They're a bit more careful when they go down the stairs. They don't carry a massive trauma. So to carry a massive trauma about it and not get over it is a little bit irrational, because you know it's not going to happen again. Presumably you've taken the steps to make sure that this isn't going to happen again, in the same way that you'd go down the stairs more carefully, or people who've hurt themselves in cars, they're back driving around right now without carrying that trauma. So the trauma is preserved, as you said, by the people around you going, can't believe you're riding after your accident there. Oh my God, what must be going through?
But they're still like, oh, you're doing so well. You're doing so well.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
it was 3 years ago.
If they were saying to the person who slipped down the stairs, oh, I can't believe you're still going up and down those stairs. You're doing so well. Aren't you going up and down those stairs? Aren't you doing well? All it's doing is reminding you how dangerous stairs are, or the car. And this doesn't happen to people who slip in the shower and go down the stairs and crash the cars. It happens because horsey people are surrounded by horsey people going, what about that accident, eh? Eh? When you're trying to just get on with your circle. I think from you saying that it's actually getting better, that what I'm about to say isn't going to apply. I think that if there is a particular incident that will not get out of your head, and quite often it's not the worst thing that happens to people, it's the thing that for some irrational reason has stuck. Sometimes it's the worst thing that happened and sometimes it's not. If you've got a singular scene that is stuck and won't move, that is the start of a phobia. It's an irrational fear, and you need to get that solved by going and getting a phobia cure, which is a hypnotherapist's bread and butter. People have irrational thoughts about all sorts of fears. Starts off with a fear of spiders, ends up with a fear of... I've met someone with a fear of mashed potato once. It's irrational, and you go and you get that sorted. The fact that it's rooted in reality doesn't make it any more irrational, because if you'd have done that falling down the stairs or slipping in the shower, you would expect yourself to get over it. And if you knew somebody who'd done the exact same injury slipping in the shower and they were still 3 years on going on about the shower, you'd be like, mate, you need to just go and move on from that, wouldn't you? You'd be saying, you need to move on from that. That was then.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is you, because you were saying it's getting better. So I genuinely believe that you're on the right path, you're doing all the right things, and as my book explains and goes on to a lot of detail, is the people around you. Well done, what about your accident? That isn't going to help you move on. What they need to be doing is, well done, that was a almost perfect circle, but you want to watch out for that northwest corner because he's stepping away from that, from where the chickens are fighting, or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
Lovely. Get my book and I'll look forward to hearing how you get on.
Okay, thanks.
Lovely. Excuse me while I look up and ignore you. Speak to Facebook Live. Facebook Live, did you hear all that? Was that all clear to hear? I tried to move the microphone down so that we could all hear the various things that went on. It's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you for watching and listening. Anything you want to add? Any comments you want to put on?
Carl,
hello,
there was
Chris.
One more question from Annabella.
Oh yeah.
In the Facebook comments, I texted it to you.
Oh, this one. Annabella, sometimes I start riding with confidence, but supposedly the old, and I take some time to get together again. That is a great question. What I'm going to do, Annabella, is save that question, bring it on to tomorrow's Social Distance Social Club, because it will give me a nice hook while people get on and find the Zoom. Then it will give me a nice hook to chat. If you can't join me tomorrow, I'll answer that question, and you can always watch it on replay. But yeah, that's super. That's a perfect question that will just give me something to talk about while people get on the Zoom and everything else. If you can join me tomorrow, that'd be absolutely marvellous. Lovely. Put any comments in the comments. Thank you everybody on Zoom for joining us, and I'll see you tomorrow. maybe. Hope so. Bye. I'll close